Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Zodiac Secrets in Tarot.com. In this episode of the Lady Magnate's Magic Podcast, we're diving into praying and manifesting your desires by using the spiritual tool of praying. Grab your favorite cup of antioxidants, whether it's green tea, coffee, or red wine, and join us for this insightful exploration. Prayer is one of the oldest and most universal human practices, reaching across time, continents, and belief systems. At its very core, prayer is the act of turning towards something greater than the self, whether that be named as God, the divine, the universe, infinite intelligence, or simply a higher version of one's own consciousness. It is a conscious act of alignment, of reaching out and opening up. More than religious ritual or rote repetition, prayer is a living dialogue. It is the bridge between our limited human awareness and the boundless field of divine possibility. It connects the mundane and the sacred, the here and now and the eternal. It is where the whisper of the soul meets the listening ear of the infinite. This guide is an invitation into that sacred space. We will journey together through the many dimensions of prayer, from its cross-cultural and spiritual roots to the science of how it affects the brain and body. We'll explore how to pray in a way that feels real, personal, and effective. Whether you have prayed all your life, never prayed at all, or are simply seeking a deeper connection with something beyond yourself, this text offers a path inward. Prayer is often referred to as speaking with God, but it is so much more than conversation. It is communion. It is the heart's cry for clarity, the soul's yearning for unity, the mind's longing for peace. Sometimes it is a request. Sometimes it is a thank you. Sometimes it is simply being still and knowing that something vast and sacred is present. Across cultures and traditions, prayer takes countless forms. In Christianity, it may come as spoken word, whispered psalm, or silent contemplation. In Islam, the rhythm of Salah anchors the day in devotion. In Judaism, prayer manifests through blessing and chant, with mystical layers offered through Kabbalah. Buddhism's mantras and aspiration prayers become vibrations of intention. Hinduism's bhakti and japa offer prayer as song, devotion, and sacred repetition. New Age thought brings forth affirmative prayer and creative visualization. Esoteric and occult systems add invocations, planetary alignments, and sacred geometries to their prayers. Despite the diversity of languages, the essence of prayer remains universally recognizable. It is the soul's communication with the sacred. Prayer is not just an expression, it is a transmission. Every time we pray, we create a ripple in the field of consciousness. From the standpoint of energetic mysticism, a prayer becomes a beam of focused intention, amplified by emotion and carried by belief. Just as a tuning fork causes nearby objects to resonate, a sincere prayer vibrates outward and calls back its echo. Emotion adds electricity to prayer. The greater the emotional charge, whether it's surrender, gratitude, awe, or love, the more potent the signal becomes. And belief, whether conscious or unconscious, acts as the soil in which the prayer lands. When a prayer is said with heartfelt trust, it becomes like a seed in fertile ground. Though prayer can be spontaneous, many powerful prayers share a structure. They often begin by acknowledging the sacred presence, a quiet inner bow. Then comes alignment, the surrender of ego to something greater. This is followed by an affirmation or declaration of the heart's desire, voiced not as lack, but as creative truth. Gratitude is offered, not just for what will be, but for what already is. And finally, receptivity, a space of silence, openness, and trust. Types of prayer. Prayer reveals itself in many forms, each one a unique doorway into connection with the divine. While they differ in tone, intention, and focus, All types of prayer serve as sacred expressions of the soul. Understanding these various modes can help deepen and enrich one's spiritual life. Petitionary prayer. This is perhaps the most commonly recognized form of prayer, the prayer of asking. Whether pleading for healing, guidance, strength, or comfort, petitionary prayer emerges from the vulnerability of the human condition. It is the soul's honest acknowledgement of need, often offered in moments of uncertainty, grief, or longing. What makes petitionary prayer powerful is not just the request itself, but the humility that comes with it. It invites divine partnership. It says, "I don't know how, but I am open. I trust." And in that openness, transformation begins. Affirmative prayer. Unlike petitionary prayer, which asks, affirmative prayer declares. It is rooted in the belief that the desired state already exists in the spiritual realm and is available for embodiment. In this form, the practitioner speaks as though the intention has already been fulfilled. "I give thanks for the abundance that flows through my life," or "I am already whole, healed, and aligned." Affirmative prayer reflects the principles found in New Thought spirituality and the law of attraction. It aligns thought, word, and emotion with a vision of the highest outcome. Rather than pleading, it proclaims. Rather than separation, it affirms unity with the divine source. It is a bold act of spiritual creativity. Contemplative prayer. This is the prayer of silence, the language beyond language. Contemplative prayer seeks not to speak, but to listen. It is the sacred art of presence, where the soul rests in the awareness of the divine. No words are needed. In fact, words are often surrendered in favor of stillness. This form of prayer mirrors the practices of Christian mystics, Buddhist meditation, and yogic samadhi. It is the space between the breaths, the still point where all seeking ceases and communion simply is. Contemplative prayer nourishes the deep well of peace within and opens the heart to subtle inspiration. Intercessory prayer. Here the focus moves outward. Intercessory prayer is offered on behalf of others, individuals, communities, or even the world. It is a form of spiritual service that channels love, healing, and grace beyond the self. Whether it's praying for a loved one's recovery or for global peace, this form of prayer builds compassion and unity. Intercessory prayer reminds us that we are all connected. When we pray for others, we send ripples of healing into the collective field. In doing so, we become conduits for divine light, helping to uplift and restore the web of life. Devotional prayer. Devotional prayer is the overflowing of the heart. It is not about asking or declaring, but about giving, offering praise, adoration, and love to the divine simply because it is felt. This type of prayer is often expressed through song, poetry, dance, or tears. It is intimate, emotional, and deeply personal. In traditions like Bhakti Yoga or Sufi mysticism, devotional prayer becomes an ecstatic surrender. The practitioner pours out their soul not to receive something, but to give everything. It is love made sacred. It is the soul's dance with its beloved. Each form of prayer holds its own wisdom and power. One is not better than another. Some days call for petition. Others invite silence. Often, we blend them instinctively, beginning with a request, flowing into gratitude, and ending in stillness. Prayer, in all its forms, is the heart's offering to the infinite. It is both anchor and wings. Whether whispered, wept, or sung, every prayer is a step deeper into the sacred mystery. The science of prayer. Science is now catching up to what mystics and spiritual seekers have known for centuries. Prayer changes us, mentally, emotionally, physiologically, and energetically. Through advanced brain imaging, biofeedback, and neuroscience, researchers are beginning to uncover what the heart has always known. When a person enters into prayer, especially focused, intentional, emotionally charged prayer, measurable changes begin to occur in the brain. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for focus, intention, and higher thinking, becomes more active. Simultaneously, activity in the parietal lobe, which governs spatial orientation and the sense of separation from others, decreases. This neurological combination creates a profound state of unity, presence, and peace. In essence, prayer shifts us into brain states associated with empathy, compassion, and transcendence. But the effects of prayer don't stop at the brain. One of the most powerful impacts of prayer is on the autonomic nervous system. Prayer and meditation-like states can slow the heart rate, reduce blood pressure, and balance the stress response by activating the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's natural rest and digest mode. This promotes healing, reduces inflammation, and increases feelings of safety and calm. On a subconscious level, prayer is also a reprogramming tool. Repeated affirmations or emotionally infused prayers act like inputs to the subconscious mind, which governs over 90% of our behavior. When we say, "I am loved," "I am whole," or "I forgive and release," we are planting seeds in the deeper soil of consciousness. The more those prayers are repeated with belief and emotional resonance, the more they create new neural pathways through the process of neuroplasticity. Over time, this can transform deeply held beliefs and patterns. Prayer also has a measurable effect on the heart. The heart emits an electromagnetic field that can be detected several feet outside the body. When we feel emotions like gratitude, love, or compassion, often the very emotions invoked through prayer, the heart enters a state of coherence. Heart coherence is a harmonious pattern of heart rhythms that reflects optimal emotional and physiological function. Not only does this state feel good internally, but it creates a subtle but powerful energetic field around us. In group settings, the effects of prayer can amplify. Studies suggest that collective intention and prayer have the ability to influence both individuals and environments. When many hearts and minds are aligned in focused, coherent prayer, especially for healing or peace, the collective field becomes more coherent, creating what some researchers and spiritual teachers call a resonant field. In these states, healing becomes more accessible, emotional shifts are accelerated, and even physical spaces may feel different. Prayer is also being studied in the context of immune function. Practices involving heartfelt prayer and meditation have been linked to increased production of antibodies, reduction in cortisol levels, the stress hormone, and improvement in sleep quality, all of which support long-term health. In summary, the science of prayer affirms what the spirit already knows. Prayer is a sacred technology of the soul. It realigns our thoughts, reconditions our bodies, and reawakens our hearts. Through this simple but profound act of prayer, we recalibrate the whole system, from brainwaves to biofield. And perhaps most importantly, we remember that we are never truly alone. Prayer, in its mystery and its measurable effects, is both medicine and miracle. How to pray, a living ritual. Creating a prayer practice begins with crafting the right space, internally and externally. Whether you choose a quiet corner of your home, a candlelit room, or a gentle moment of pause before falling asleep, your surroundings help cultivate sacred attention. Enter the space as you would a sanctuary. Let your breath slow. Let your body soften. Let your awareness drop gently into your heart. Begin by acknowledging the presence you are communing with. This might be the divine, the universe, your higher self, or simply love itself. You can speak aloud, whisper, or simply feel into that connection. Phrases like infinite light, I open to you, or beloved presence, I am listening, become more than words. They are the key that opens the door to your sacred encounter. Next comes the act of alignment. This is the softening of the ego's grip, the humble invitation to be guided by something higher. You might say, let thy will unfold through me, or align me with the highest version of my path. This moment of surrender allows your inner self to become fertile ground for inspired thought, feeling, and action. Now you may begin the heart of the prayer. Speak what is true for you in that moment. This could be a request, an affirmation, a confession, or a declaration. Speak from your soul, not from habit. If you wish to heal, affirm wholeness. If you desire peace, speak of serenity. Let the words rise not just from your mind, but from your deeper knowing. This is your sacred creative act, the language of your innermost truth echoing into the universal field. Follow with gratitude. Give thanks not only for what has been received, but for what is already unfolding. Say thank you as though the prayer has been heard and answered, because in spiritual terms, it has. Gratitude elevates the frequency of your prayer and anchors it in faith. It says, I trust the process. I recognize the unseen orchestration of life. And then be still. Let the prayer settle. Sit in quiet. Breathe. This silent receptivity is not an absence of prayer, but the culmination of it. In stillness, your nervous system integrates the resonance of what has just been spoken. Your subconscious begins to process the vibration. And in that still space, you may feel an insight, a release, a warmth, or simply peace. There is a wisdom in approaching prayer not as a desperate plea, but as a confident cooperation with the infinite intelligence within and around you. When prayer is practiced regularly, it can act as a vehicle for deep reprogramming of the subconscious mind. Every word you repeat, especially with conviction and emotional sincerity, enters the fertile ground of your inner world. With consistency, those repeated truths become part of your inner landscape. Prayer, in this light, becomes a daily act of inner authorship, a ritual that not only opens you to the sacred, but reminds you that you are a co-creator in the unfolding story of your life. Prayer need not live in churches or temples. It can breathe into every moment of your day. In the morning, a simple prayer of intention can set the rhythm. At meals, prayer blesses not only the food, but your state of mind. At night, prayer becomes release, surrendering the day to higher wisdom. Even while walking, cleaning, or commuting, you can enter the rhythm of prayer. Repeating short mantras, sacred words, or breath-aligned affirmations transforms the mundane into the mystical. In the fast-paced rhythm of modern life, prayer is often reserved for moments of crisis or confined to specific places, sanctuaries, temples, churches. Yet the ancient truth remains. Prayer was never meant to be limited by walls or circumstances. It is not merely a ritual to be performed, but a way of being, a sacred conversation, a vibration of the heart, a soft and steady alignment with something greater. Prayer, in its deepest form, is not about performing. It is about returning. Returning to your center. Returning to presence. Returning to the source that animates all things. When prayer becomes a natural part of daily life, woven gently into the rising of the sun, the sharing of a meal, the stillness before sleep, and even the humdrum activities in between life itself become sanctified. The mundane is lifted into the mystical. The ordinary becomes an altar. Let us now explore how to live this truth, how to allow prayer to infuse each moment with meaning, clarity, and sacred connection. The earliest hours of the day hold a quiet power. Before the noise of the world infiltrates your awareness, there is a stillness that is utterly holy. In that liminal space between dreaming and waking, the the soul is most receptive to subtle energy. It is here that intention can be planted like a seed in fertile soil. Instead of reaching immediately for a phone or diving into mental to-do lists, imagine taking a moment to simply close your eyes and breathe. With that breath, you align yourself. A single sentence of prayer in the morning, one that comes from the depth of your being, can shape your experience in ways the rational mind cannot comprehend. You might quietly offer words like, "Today, I choose peace and clarity," or "May I be guided to serve love in all I do." In these few sacred seconds, you harmonize your energy with divine intelligence, setting the tone for everything that follows. This is not about reciting something perfect. It is about being present, even briefly, in the mystery of being alive. In many ancient traditions, the act of eating has always been more than sustenance. It is communion with the earth, with the divine cycle of giving and receiving. Food becomes sacred not because of what is on the plate, but because of the presence with which we receive it. When you pause to bless your meal, you acknowledge the deeper currents at play. You are not only nourishing the body, but also honoring the spirit. This blessing may be a simple thank you whispered into your plate, or a quiet moment of gratitude for the people, animals, and elements that made the meal possible. By consciously receiving your food, your nervous system relaxes. Your body digests more peacefully. Your heart expands. A mundane act transforms into a ritual of abundance. As the sun sets and the world grows quieter, the invitation of the evening is clear: release. Evening prayer is a time for surrender, for reflection, for the soothing of the spirit. It is the space in which you acknowledge your efforts, your challenges, your growth, and then hand it all back to something wiser than the human mind. You might close your eyes and whisper to yourself, "I release what I cannot control. I trust the unfolding of life." Or perhaps you simply say, "Thank you." A thank you to the breath that carried you, the body that moved you, the lessons that shaped you. When you pray before sleep, you cradle your consciousness in divine presence. You invite healing to unfold in the silence. You invite dreams to carry the wisdom your waking mind may not yet understand. It's easy to imagine prayer as a practice with a beginning and an end, a time you set aside, a space you enter. But the greatest transformation happens when you discover that prayer has no boundary. It is not just for the mornings, the meals, the quiet evenings. It is for the waiting room, the walk to the market, the moments when your hands are busy but your soul is listening. Prayer can happen while folding clothes or riding the train. It can arise in your breath, your thoughts, the rhythm of your feet on the ground. A whispered word, a silent affirmation, a breath aligned with presence. These are all prayers in motion. Even repeating a single word in your mind, peace, light, thank you, can attune you to something luminous and eternal. Breathing with intention, inhale, I receive, exhale, I trust, can recalibrate your energy in the midst of a stressful day. These are not just techniques. They are doorways. They turn the ordinary into sacred ground. To weave prayer into your everyday life is not to escape the world. It is to transform your experience of it. When prayer becomes your constant companion, your nervous system begins to relax. You become less reactive, more intuitive. You begin to respond to life instead of being driven by it. This subtle shift is alchemical. You find yourself making choices from love instead of fear. You speak more kindly to yourself and others. You begin to feel supported by something invisible yet deeply real. When you live in prayer, you no longer need proof or signs to believe in the sacred. You feel it. You become it. Your life takes on a different texture, softer, deeper, more radiant. And most profoundly, you begin to remember who you truly are. You are not separate from the divine. You're not a being reaching for something outside of yourself. You are the temple. You are the vessel. The sacred is not something you must earn, it is something you already carry. There is no wrong way to pray, just as there is no wrong way to breathe. What matters is presence. What matters is sincerity. What matters is the return again and again to that still place inside you that knows it belongs to something holy. When prayer becomes the fabric of your days, you don't just say prayers. You live them. You become one. In the quiet of our personal prayer, we often seek healing, clarity, or guidance for ourselves. These moments of inward reflection are sacred, deeply transformative, and essential to the unfolding of a meaningful life. But there is another form of prayer, equally potent and perhaps even more expansive. It is the prayer that turns outward, the prayer that includes others, the prayer that whispers not only for one's own soul, but for the healing of the world. True prayer is not confined to personal desire. It transcends individual need and enters the realm of universal connection. When you pray for others from the depths of sincerity and compassion, you become a vessel through which healing flows into the collective field of consciousness. This is not metaphor. This is spiritual technology. When you visualize a loved one bathed in golden light, when you gently speak the name of someone in need with love and presence, when you hold an image of peace for a community in conflict, you are doing more than imagining. You are transmitting. You are participating in the unseen network of energy that binds all beings. You are extending the field of blessing beyond the boundary of your own body and inviting others into that sacred circle. To say, "May all beings be free," is not merely poetic. It is an invocation, a ripple, a coded offering that vibrates through the spiritual ether and gently nudges the collective toward greater harmony. In moments of global unrest, during times of loss, natural disasters, or human suffering, it can be easy to feel helpless. The vastness of pain can seem too large, too overwhelming for any one person to address. But prayer teaches us a different kind of strength, the strength of silent activism. To sit with eyes closed, heart open, and intention focused on love and restoration is not passive. It is not weak. It is not denial. It is spiritual participation. It is rooted in the understanding that every thought, every word, every breath offered in faith carries energetic weight. It plants seeds in the invisible that grow into tangible change. Energetic compassion is not loud. It does not scream or demand attention. It moves quietly, like light. It penetrates barriers, crosses distances, and heals wounds unseen by the physical eye. To pray for others is to say, "I see your soul. I recognize your pain. I honor your journey, and I choose to stand beside you in the invisible realms, offering what strength I have." There are many ways to engage in this kind of prayer. Some light a candle and speak names aloud. Others hold mental images of people or places surrounded by healing energy. Some use mantras or sacred phrases, repeating them slowly as waves of intention. Others simply sit in deep stillness and allow their love to radiate outward like sunlight from the heart. No method is superior. What matters is the sincerity of your presence. What matters is that you mean it. When you hold someone in prayer, you are not controlling their outcome. You are not imposing your will. You are offering support from a place of spiritual humility. You are saying, "May the highest good unfold. May peace come. May healing be received." And while the people you pray for may never know it consciously, something in the great mystery of existence is touched by your effort. Energetic compassion does not need to be seen to be effective. It is a language spoken soul to soul. Beyond individuals, this practice can be extended to entire nations, ecosystems, or future generations. You might offer a prayer for the oceans, for forests aflame, for children born into chaos, or for leaders to awaken to wisdom. You might pray for the healing of ancestral wounds, for the end of cycles of violence, for the birth of a more just and loving world. These prayers are not idealistic fantasies. They are threads of new reality, woven one intention at a time. There is something profoundly beautiful about a person who, amid their own struggles, takes the time to lift another through prayer. It is an act of grace, a quiet miracle. And the paradox is that in giving this gift, we ourselves are healed. The heart expands, the mind softens, the spirit remembers its interconnected nature. In this way, prayer becomes not just something you do, it becomes a way of being in the world, a way of walking with reverence, a way of being in service, even in stillness. So let your prayer reach beyond your personal story. Let it touch the broken, the forgotten, the unseen. Let it wrap itself around the globe like a mantle of light. Let your whispered words carry the strength of oceans. Let your silence speak of love so vast it requires no sound. You do not need to know the outcome. You only need to show up with love. For in the end, to pray for the world is to become a blessing in it. There comes a moment on the spiritual path when prayer transforms. It ceases to be a repetition of memorized phrases or a quiet plea in times of need. It becomes something more alive, something personal, expansive, and profoundly intimate. It becomes a living dialogue with the unseen, a form of self-discovery, and an alchemical process of inner evolution. To deepen your practice of prayer is not about doing more. It is about being more fully present. It is about allowing your spiritual life to mature, to stretch into new shapes, to grow roots in silence and wings in expression. It is about creating space, not only for connection with the divine, but for transformation within yourself. One of the simplest and most powerful ways to enter into this deeper space is to begin keeping a prayer journal. This is not merely a record of requests or outcomes. It becomes a sacred document of your journey. Each entry reflects not only what you've asked for, but what you've opened yourself to receive, and who you've become in the process of asking, listening, and trusting. As you write down your prayers, your thoughts, your emotions, and your moments of clarity, you begin to witness the quiet unfolding of your soul. You may notice patterns in your desires. You may uncover deeper layers beneath surface intentions. You may even look back and realize that what once seemed unanswered was answered in ways you could never have imagined at the time. Your journal becomes a mirror of faith and a testimony to the subtle miracles of grace. As your journaling deepens, so too can the way you blend prayer with other sacred practices. Prayer need not stand alone. It can move hand in hand with meditation, flowing into silence after words have been spoken. It can interlace with affirmations, where you declare truths that reshape your inner world. It can merge with visualization, where your mind paints vivid images of healing, peace, or purpose. It can accompany breath work, where each inhale and exhale becomes a pulse of reverence. The integration of these practices invites prayer to become more than an act of speaking. It becomes a full-bodied experience, an energetic state, a vibrational shift, a communion between your inner being and the source that animates all things. And as your practice evolves, you may find that the old words no longer fit. You may feel a call to craft your own language of devotion. This is not only natural, it is sacred. There are no rigid rules, no formulas that must be followed to be heard by the divine. The deepest prayers are not those polished by theology. They are those birthed in authenticity. Speak as you would to a beloved friend. Speak from your longing, your wonder, your joy, or your uncertainty. Speak from the quiet place in you that has no need to impress, only to connect. Or, if you prefer, don't speak at all. Sit in stillness. Rest in awareness. Allow the silent space within you to become the prayer itself. For the divine understands what lives beneath your words. The divine reads the language of energy, the resonance of your heart, the vibration of your presence. It is not the structure of your sentence that matters, it is the sincerity of your soul. You can cry out with eloquence, or you can mutter through tears, or you can breathe in silence with no words at all, and still you are heard. Still you are held. This is the great beauty of deepening the practice. It ceases to be about what you do and becomes about who you are becoming through the doing. Prayer becomes less of a spiritual task and more of a sacred rhythm, woven into your days, shaped by your growth, and transformed by your willingness to remain open. It evolves because you evolve. What once felt like supplication may one day feel like praise. What once began in desperation may blossom into gratitude. What once felt like a conversation may become a stillness beyond speech. And in this unfolding, your relationship with the divine deepens not because you followed a script, but because you allowed yourself to bring your whole being into communion. You are not just praying to the divine, you are praying with the divine. Your words, your breath, your silence, your scribbled thoughts in a journal, they are all invitations. Invitations to draw nearer, to listen more deeply, to awaken to a reality that exists beneath the surface of things. So let your practice be living. Let it grow with you. Let it surprise you. Let it humble and exalt you. Let it be as raw and real and unfiltered as your truest self. And above all, trust that however you come, the divine meets you there not in perfection, but in presence. In that space, prayer ceases to be an action. It becomes your way of being. It becomes your way of listening. It becomes your way of loving. And in time, it becomes your way of life. No matter how many books one reads on spirituality or how often one listens to sermons, prayer often begins with uncertainty. It can feel awkward, unfamiliar, or even contrived at first. Many people, especially those returning to prayer after a long time or just beginning to explore it, find themselves asking, "What do I say?" This question is more common than we realize, and the answer is simpler than we might expect. Say what is real. Prayer does not require eloquence. It does not demand polished words or poetic structure. What it asks for is honesty. The most powerful prayers are not those that sound beautiful to the ear, but those that are authentic to the soul. If you feel joy, speak from that joy. If you feel confusion, fear, or even anger, let that be part of your offering. The divine is not fragile. You are not required to filter your emotions or censor your truth. You are, in fact, invited to bring the whole of yourself to the altar, raw, uncertain, joyful, grieving, grateful, questioning. It is all welcome. It is all sacred. And yet, even when we manage to speak our truth in prayer, another challenge often arises. Some say, "But I don't feel anything." There is no emotional rush, no warmth, no tears, just stillness, emptiness even. That too is part of the path. Not every prayer will arrive wrapped in a mystical experience. Sometimes prayer feels like speaking into the void, but silence does not mean absence. The unseen realms are not always perceptible to our senses, yet they are always responsive. Just as seeds grow beneath the soil before any green shoot breaks the surface, prayer often works in quiet, hidden ways long before its effects become visible in our outer lives. The most important thing you can do in these moments is to keep showing up. There is wisdom in persistence. There is transformation in consistency. Each moment you return to prayer, even without emotion or confirmation, is a moment you choose alignment. Each time you speak, sit, listen, or breathe with intention, You create a channel for grace to flow even if you cannot yet feel it. For those who struggle with doubt, the inner question might sound like, is anyone even listening? This is a deeply human concern, especially when prayers seem to go unanswered or when life feels stuck in prolonged periods of uncertainty. But it is important to remember that every intention sends a signal. Every sincere moment of prayer, no matter how small, enters the spiritual field like a stone into water. The ripples extend far beyond what the eye can see. You may never fully know the impact of your prayers. You may never witness how your moment of vulnerability softened something in the collective field or opened a door for someone else across the world. But know this, sincerity always lands somewhere. It is never wasted. It is never unheard. If answers feel delayed, it does not mean that prayer has failed. Sometimes we are being prepared. Sometimes life is rearranging itself in ways we do not yet understand. Divine timing is not linear, and it is rarely aligned with our urgency. In truth, prayer often initiates a deeper process, not of immediate gratification, but of transformation. Sometimes we receive not what we ask for, but what we most deeply need. This can be a difficult teaching to accept, especially when our prayers come from places of desperation. Yet again and again, many find that in retrospect, the delayed answer or the unexpected outcome brought a deeper blessing than the one originally requested. Still, none of this means you must deny your longing. You can pray honestly and still hold space for patience. You can desire change while trusting a greater unfolding. Prayer is not a magic trick. It is a relationship. It is a way of leaning into a larger intelligence with humility and trust. And like any relationship, it requires time, openness, and the willingness to stay connected even in the quiet seasons. So, if you feel uncertain in your prayer practice, if you stumble over your words, or wonder if it matters, or feel like nothing is happening, know that you are not alone. These experiences are not signs of failure. They are signs that you are human. They are signs that you are showing up in the only way that matters, truthfully. Keep speaking. Keep listening. Keep showing up, even when it's silent, even when it's hard, even when it seems nothing is changing. Because the act of prayer itself is transformative. It is not just a means to get something. It is a path that slowly shapes you from the inside out. It refines your perception, strengthens your spirit, and invites your heart into deeper alignment with the rhythm of life. In the end, the struggle is not a detour. It is part of the way. There comes a point in every spiritual journey when we realize that prayer is not confined to specific moments or structured words. It is not reserved solely for morning meditations, bedtime rituals, or whispered pleas in times of need. True prayer, in its deepest and most expansive form, is a way of living. It is not something we do, it is something we become. To live a prayerful life is to walk through the world with reverence. It is to treat each breath, each step, each word as part of a sacred rhythm. This does not mean that life becomes somber or overly serious. Quite the opposite. It becomes more alive, more awake, more radiant with meaning. When we begin to view life itself as a prayer, we shift from performing spirituality to embodying it. It becomes less about the form and more about the intention behind everything we do. Whether we are bowing in a formal place of worship, dancing freely in our living room, whispering quietly to the stars, or crying out in moments of heartbreak, each expression holds the potential to be sacred. Every act, when offered with sincerity, becomes a bridge between the seen and the unseen. This way of being asks us to pause more often, to soften, to listen, to become more attuned to the presence of the divine in the everyday. Living prayerfully means that we return to connection again and again, not just when life feels peaceful and beautiful, but also when it feels chaotic, uncertain, and raw. It means choosing to meet each moment with openness rather than resistance. It means allowing space for silence in a world that constantly demands noise. It means recognizing that prayer is just as present in the way we listen to a friend as it is in a formal invocation. It is in the way we wash dishes with mindfulness, speak with kindness, or place our hand gently over our heart in the middle of a difficult day. Living a prayerful life does not require perfection. In fact, it welcomes imperfection. Begin where you are. Bring your doubts, your distractions, your messy, beautiful humanity. There is no need to wait until you feel more worthy or more enlightened. What matters is the willingness to begin, to be real, to be honest, to speak from wherever you truly are. Let your prayers be raw and unpolished. Let them come out broken or poetic. Speak what is in your heart, even if it is confusion or grief. Sit in silence when there are no words, and trust that even your stillness is heard. The divine does not require you to be articulate. It only asks you to be sincere. As you live into this rhythm, this continual returning, you will notice something subtle, something powerful. Prayer will stop feeling like a one-directional act. It will no longer be something you send out in hopes of being answered. You will feel it moving in both directions. Prayer not only reaches upward, to the divine, the infinite, the source, it also reaches inward, into the very core of your being. It softens us. It transforms us. It awakens us to what is already present, but often overlooked, the beauty, the connection, the truth that lives within and around us. In this awakening, life begins to shimmer. Moments feel fuller. Struggles feel more spacious. Love begins to take root in places where fear once lived. We begin to hear life differently, move through the world more consciously, and relate to others with greater compassion. And perhaps this is the most profound effect of all. We begin to change, not because we are trying to fix ourselves, but because the energy of prayer reminds us who we truly are. We remember our wholeness, our sacredness, our connection to something greater. We begin to see through the illusions of separation and live from the truth of unity. This is the miracle. Not necessarily the external outcome, though those may come too. The true miracle is the quiet and steady transformation that happens within. The softening of the heart, the lifting of the soul, the expanding of awareness. The rediscovery of the divine that has always been with us, closer than breath, nearer than thought. So however you choose to pray, through words, through silence, through movement or music, let it be an expression of your truth. Let it rise from the center of your being and let it spill into the way you live. Your life itself can become the offering. Your presence can become the temple. You can become the prayer. Amen. Aho. Oam. So it is. Examples of powerful prayers. Prayer for prosperity and wealth. Infinite source of all abundance, I recognize you as the one and only supply. I now align with the rhythm of divine prosperity. Money flows to me freely, endlessly, and effortlessly. I am rich in mind, spirit, and material form. I give thanks for the immediate, constant, and lavish increase in financial supply. I am divinely guided in all business and financial affairs. Every transaction brings me closer to freedom and fulfillment. I live in joyous expectancy of the best. So it is. Prayer for healing and restoration. Divine life flows through me now. Every cell of my body is filled with light, vitality, and peace. I am whole, perfect, strong, and harmonious. The intelligence that created me knows how to heal me. I surrender all resistance and accept radiant health as my natural state. I give thanks that this healing is already underway. I feel the power of perfect life restoring me now. I rest in the certainty of complete well-being. So it is. Prayer for inner peace and divine guidance. There is a presence within me that knows the way. I trust this higher wisdom absolutely. I release all fear, all doubt, all confusion. My mind is calm, centered, and clear. Every step I take is guided by divine intelligence. I am at peace with myself and with the world. I walk in the light of perfect understanding, knowing that all is unfolding in divine order. I welcome serenity, insight, and joy into my life. It is done. Prayer for love and harmonious relationships. Infinite love, the source of all true connection, flows through me now. I radiate love, kindness, and magnetic grace. I attract relationships that are nourishing, joyful, and spiritually aligned. I release all patterns of fear, resentment, or lack, and I welcome deep intimacy, trust, and harmony. The perfect relationship is already unfolding in divine timing. My heart is open to love, and love returns to me multiplied. I give thanks for the loving companionship that blesses my life. So it is. Prayer for creative success and divine inspiration. The creative spirit of the universe expresses through me now. I am inspired, confident, and divinely guided in all I create. My ideas are rich, vibrant, and full of life. Everything I produce serves a higher purpose and brings joy to others. Doors of opportunity open with ease, and my work is met with recognition, support, and financial reward. I trust my vision and honor the gift within me. I am a vessel for divine creativity, and so it unfolds beautifully and perfectly. Prayer for spiritual awakening and alignment. There's only one presence and one power, and it lives in me now. I awaken to my true nature, divine, eternal, infinite. I release all illusion and see with the eyes of spirit. My life is a sacred journey of remembrance, and each day I walk deeper into truth. I am guided, uplifted, and supported by unseen forces of light. I dwell in peace, radiate compassion, and move in harmony with the divine will. I am one with the infinite, and so it is. If you're looking for a guide to mastering the art of manifesting, we warmly welcome you to our School of Manifesting. On our website, you'll find a wide range of courses where you can learn everything about manifesting, as well as explore other esoteric arts and spiritual tools. We truly hope you found this episode helpful and enjoyed listening. Feel free to share it with your friends and family so they too can begin their transformation. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our channel, give this video a thumbs up, and stay connected with us. Thank you for watching. We wish you oceans of abundance, radiant health, overflowing wealth, and true love.